I'm joined now by Brian Becker, the Executive Director of the Answer Coalition, an anti-war and social justice organization. So let's begin with this third visit Kim Jong-un is making to China in less than 3 months. What does it say about the current state of the relationship between these two countries?
If it had been colder, it's become warmer. It's certainly very, very strong. You can see that the DPRK leadership, Kim Jong-un in particular, has gone out of his way to consult and brief the Chinese leadership almost before every major step in this diplomatic process. What we're witnessing now in Korea, I think, is the initiative from North Korea, the initiative from South Korea, and the support from the People's Republic of China. That's what's really driven this new dynamic. That's what's created a new context. Donald Trump has joined this context. The decision by Washington to cancel these clearly provocative war games in August was a very, very positive step. But I think the DPRK, South Korea, and China are really actually driving the process.
And are you surprised that all of this has sort of come together? I mean, 6 months ago, this was a different conversation.
It was a different conversation. The bluster, the bluff, the threats, fire and fury, little rocket man, we're going to annihilate the DPRK, all of that kind of commentary, that bellicose rhetoric from Donald Trump and from others in the American administration. It's such a profound shift. It's almost a breathtaking change. But even back then, I personally felt that there was a great possibility. The DPRK had done what it thought it needed to do to guarantee its own security: a nuclear credible threat, a missile technology with a long-range capacity. And they said back in January 1st, 2018, we are ready now to reach out to the South. And the South reciprocated right away. The North and the South created this momentum. You can remember at the Olympic Games, Mike Pence there with his arms folded, looking all icy when the two Koreas came in together and there was so much optimism. Trump had to change that policy. The peace train was leaving the station and America wasn't on it.
What's going on behind the scenes now in Beijing? We understand that Kim Jong-un is briefing President Xi on the Singapore summit. What is the next step? What should we be looking for next?
Well, I think the next step has to be looked at from the point of view of what Trump and Kim Jong-un actually signed. The declaration and the order of the declaration is extremely important. Point number one was not denuclearization. Point number one was a new policy, a new relationship between the U.S. and the DPRK. Two, a permanent mechanism so that war would not come again to the Korean Peninsula. And then number three was denuclearization. Now, we know North Korea has taken unilateral steps, including a moratorium on its missile technology tests and nuclear tests, the blowing up of its own nuclear test site. What comes next now is a genuine reciprocation from the United States. The cancellation of the war games is a palpable next step. So that's the whole approach of DPRK and I believe China, step by step, synchronized, reciprocal. So I think we have a lot of momentum right now.
And are you encouraged by seeing Kim Jong-un traveling so much outside of the country in recent months? To China 3 times, to Singapore, to the DMZ, who knows where else next?
Yeah, he's come to China 3 times. He's been invited to go to Moscow. Donald Trump has invited him and he's accepted to come to the White House. As you mentioned, he was in Singapore last week at the summit. This shows that the DPRK has in fact already emerged from its isolated position. They are in a very much stronger position diplomatically. They're taking advantage of that to make palpable next step gains for the peace process. I think it's extremely positive.
All right, Brian Becker, always great to hear your insight. Thank you for joining us.